this is a controversial topic, and I'd like to clear up the controversy. Because apparently, when I say things, people twist them around with their wrong views that are tainted by ignorance. Uh, Ignorance is lack of proper knowledge or wisdom. So I'd like to talk about the immortal practices. The immortal practices are practices that you can do to lengthen your life to extremely long lengths. You start by doing it just to lengthen your life and be healthy so that you don't get sick. And then after you do it where you're healthy and you don't get sick, you start to do it to lengthen your life. And then after you do them for a very long time, you can become even better. And what I believe, you can gain immortality in the human body. The immortality in the human body is, of course, theoretical. And there are karmic things that can happen that can take your immortality away. You're not bulletproof. You're not poison proof. You're not nuclear bomb proof. So you can die. But if you have peaceful, happy, calm, quiet existence, your physical body won't age. So your aging stops dead in its track. So in the Bible, it goes from 1200 to 100 in one chapter. And basically it says because man became too interested in earthly things. In the Breatharian text, it says that man started to eat heavy foods, so their life was shortened. The Taoist master who lived to be 250 was documented with his birth certificate. So this is all pretty well documented stuff. You can call it legend, but the man who lived to 240 with his birth certificate, that's pretty well documented. So the immortal practices, number one, they're not for everyone. Number two, you have to give up a lot. Number three, you have to practice these practices very devoutly, and it's not easy. The other thing is that what I've done is I've added the sciences into the techniques and the practices. So before now, we didn't have enough knowledge on cellular biology. We didn't have enough knowledge on DNA. We didn't have enough knowledge on time and space. All of the sciences have to be known to the practitioner before he can attain immortality. Then the concentration has to be built to very high levels, to the point where your consciousness is built so much, you're fully, totally, in every way, present in this moment, and your mind is focused like a really big magnifying glass focusing a lens of light. That's the type of focus that you have to attain to do it. If you're interested in the immortal practices, if you'd like to live a life that is healthier, and when you get healthier, there's less chance of sickness. Please feel free to message me. I can begin to teach you the techniques. But this is not a joke. I'm not lying. The techniques are real. But there are other factors involved. That's what I want you to understand. Just because you learn the techniques from me does not mean that you're going to become an immortal. And you have to sacrifice a lot to attain it. If you want to gain the immortality, you have to give up a lot of earthly things. You can't drink beer and master the concentration techniques. Okay? You can't watch porn and master the concentration techniques. Okay? So To clear up the controversy, only the highest level practitioners can master the immortal techniques. The highest level practitioners. Those are the only ones who can attain it, not the lower level ones. Can lower level practitioners go to high level practitioners? Yes. It's just like a black belt in karate. You practice the immortal techniques. You start with the white belt. 5-10 years, you get a black belt. By the time you're black belt, you get very good at them. It's just like Jeet Kune Do. You learn Wing Chun, you learn Kung Fu techniques. Next thing you know, Jeet Kune Do evolves into its own thing, the way of the intercepting fist. It's the same thing. The techniques that I've learned have evolved into a higher understanding in which you not only gain very long life, but can stop your body from aging altogether. Not only that, but in the immortal techniques, the Jing technique that I have, which is openly on my channel for all beings, is restoring Jing. So each technique is very important, and the wisdom and the intellectual knowledge are very important as well, and you need all of them. You need to have the intellectual understanding of what's going on in the body on all levels. And then you need to have the techniques that go with it. And you also need to understand physics, time, 11 dimensions, space, elements. So there's a lot that has to be understood in order to master these practices. But there's a lot of people who are, worried about dying or worried about getting sick or getting ill. Well, if you're worried about getting sick, then number one, the ignorance here is, do you not think that you're going to die? Have you acknowledged the fact that you're going to die? So in the sutras, it says that even the wise fear death. Even the wise cling to life. So your soul, which is here, your physical body, and your soul, your brain, your physical body, all of the DNA and flesh and cells in your body are made so that they want to survive. And you know this as a fighter. If you get into a ring, before you get into a ring, your flesh gets scared. I don't know if Tyson has an adrenaline rush before he gets in the ring, but I'm not getting in the ring with him. But the flesh itself is scared to die. It doesn't want to die. It has to replicate itself to keep the procreation of the species. So because of that, people fear, and because they fear, that's why they don't want to get all this sick stuff. But the first thing to do is acknowledge the fact that you're going to die. Then the proper wisdom is, okay, well, how do I keep myself from getting sick? So COVID is one virus. If you look in recent history, you have the Black Death, which is very scary virus. I mean, people had pustules like this big and they were dying dead in the street, AIDS, cancer, disease is not some kind of short-term thing. There's been plagues since 1400 and something. There's been 6 diagnosed plagues that were terrible. Just since the 80s, there's been, AIDS and bird flu and Ebola. So this, dwelling just on this COVID, is very unwise. Vaccines are not the issue. But if you really want to be wise and you're scared to be sick and you've acknowledged the fact that right now you're immortal and you are going to die unless you become an immortal, then the next thing to do is to start to prepare your body to be able to develop antibodies for any virus. Now, if the human immune system was not the strongest immune system on earth, why would there be 8 billion humans on Earth. So the human immune system is basically the strongest thing on Earth. And this can be a very challenging planet to live on. So if the human immune system is working properly, it should be able to develop antibodies for whatever it gets. Now, if it's weakened through sexual activity or you're swapping fluids with someone, then good chances of getting sick. But if you're not swapping fluids with someone and you're not having sexual activity, then if you drink your herbs and you do your practices, probably won't get sick. And then there's going to be another sickness and another sickness and another sickness unless we eradicate sickness altogether. And if we want to eradicate sickness altogether, we have to eradicate hatred and ignorance, stop slandering each other. So, everything goes hand in hand. So if you understand this, then you start practicing these practices and lengthening your life, and then you go from there. Once again, if you're interested in learning the Immortal practices, you can contact me, and I would be happy to give you some lessons. I hope this helps. Question, comments below. Oh, and by the way, this is theoretical.